those who don't know, this is my alma mater. I graduated here from the class of 1980. I had a lot of great memories. In fact, I've shared with the staff and the students here, I think the greatest day of my life was when I was elected to be the senior class vice president. And I remember that day like it was yesterday, and I have a source of pride that comes from the halls of Hillcrest High School. Both of my brothers and I, we all graduated, so we're all Hillcrest Braves, and this place means a lot to me personally. I just finished an afternoon of speaking to both the students and staff of the school, both of which have been in the media over the last several days. My message was simple. We are unequivocal. Violence, hate, and disorder have no place in our schools. Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all forms of bigotry are simply unacceptable. And we are committed to maintaining a safe and supportive environment for every student and staff member. But I didn't come here just to tell them that. I came here today to listen. And right here in this room, we spent a good chunk of time early afternoon with dozens of students, just hearing from them. And that's very, very important when you're dealing with students as adults, that you don't just come in with all of your judgments and the kids feel like you don't even know them and you haven't even heard from them. So that was very important to me. I was a principal for 11 years. And I know what it means to be respectful to kids so that they build a trusting relationship with you. So you have to listen. And I did the same thing just now with our staff. Sorry to be running a few minutes behind, but we were engaged in some very emotional conversation with both groups. But suffice to say, as Mayor Adams has noted, while we in New York City cannot solve the crisis in the Middle East, we can and we must address acts of hate in our own city, wherever it arises. In this case, a teacher at Hillcrest High School was targeted based on her support for Israel, expressed in a permissible way outside of school hours, and her Jewish identity. And that is completely unacceptable that she would be targeted for that. And I said that to the students as well as to the staff here today. In fact, we have zero tolerance for baseless hatred against any group, which we also made it clear in an all-staff communication last month, condemning the horrific murder of a Palestinian-American 6-year-old in Illinois. The first thing that I want to do today is to clarify some of the facts here. The students and staff of Hillcrest deserve the facts to be laid out truthfully. There have been many rumors and misinformation circulating. Let me start by laying out the facts of what occurred last week. On Monday, last Monday, we go today, the 20th, the safety of multiple of our staff and students were put at risk after approximately 400 students acted disruptively during class-changing time, roving the school and calling for the removal of a Jewish educator. We immediately moved the educator to safety and swiftly took steps to make the school calm. So let's be clear. At a school of approximately 2,500 students, the majority of students peacefully transitioned to class and did not participate in any negativity. This was due in part to the staff, the school safety agents, and the students who made the right decision to remain calm. On Tuesday, the 21st, the school was calm and peaceful. On Wednesday, the 22nd, a student warned the principal that the protest would continue as long as the teacher remained employed at the school. And the next protest was planned for 5th period. This was on Wednesday. Because of this advance notice, the school was able to deploy school safety agents and put the school under lockdown. The lockdown was eventually transitioned into a hold. Everyone in the building was safe and calm, and the hold was lifted. So we are addressing these events head-on with those involved and are also engaged in a whole school response to promote dialogue and understanding. Specifically, we will be leveraging an external partner and a variety of other resources to support a school environment that is inclusive and safe, one where a situation like this doesn't happen again. We're also proud of our students who bravely spoke up and alerted school leadership about the planned protest later in the week so that we could take immediate action to protect all students and staff. In terms of student discipline, all students are expected to follow our citywide behavioral expectations to support student learning, which also includes our discipline code, and other citywide and school-specific rules and policies. When students violate these rules and policies, they are subject to discipline, which must be consistent with relevant laws, chancellor's regulations, and our discipline code. Due to privacy and confidentiality laws, we cannot comment on discipline for individual students. However, please know that our approach to discipline is both swift and fair, ensuring the safety of our school community. We work closely with our school leaders and the NYPD to ensure that our response is appropriate and effective. I also want to clarify the misinformation circulating online about this incident. Contrary to reports, the November 20th incident was promptly addressed and brought under control through the leadership of the principal, school staff, school safety agents, and the NYPD. The teacher was not in direct danger. I want to repeat that. The teacher was never in direct danger. The school took measures to ensure that she was not on the same floor of the building where the incident was taking place. Regarding an entirely separate incident on November 15th, completely unrelated to the Israel-Hamas war, I can confirm that the school safety agent involved was not assaulted. Many of you saw a video that was released. It was released that almost kind of suggested this was all part of the same narrative. It was not. A completely separate incident that took place. The school safety agent seen in that video was separating two students and doing their job, keeping students safe in a tense situation. Violence of any kind is unacceptable in our schools, so we're taking appropriate action with the students involved. I also want to remind us all about the importance of using and consuming social media in a mindful way. This is an example of misinformation being spread online and further amplifying an already tense situation. I also want to emphasize that New York City Public Schools operates with transparency. We do not hide or cover up facts. Such allegations betray the trust that parents and caregivers place in us when they send their children to our schools. And as someone who has served as a principal, a teacher, and a school safety agent, and now in my role as chancellor, I'm deeply offended by any suggestion that we would be less than forthcoming. Anyone who has even seen me in this role as chancellor has known or should know that I am as transparent as it gets. I engage, I listen, there's no hiding of any facts, and I'm offended even by that suggestion. Should also note that we have taken a comprehensive and proactive approach to addressing the Middle East crisis in our schools, knowing how personal this situation is for many of our students and staff. First, we took a clear stand against hate. On October 10th, we released a statement via our website and social media condemning the Hamas terrorist attacks and expressing our deep condolences to those impacted in our community. Since then, we have sent numerous additional communications to a variety of audiences, all reiterating that hate has no home in New York City Public Schools and that we must work together to create an environment that is safe, inclusive, and supportive for all of our students and staff, especially in moments like these. We also put out a joint statement with Mayor Adams standing against hateful rhetoric in our schools. Second, we have provided materials and resources for use by school staff, students, and families, ranging from reporting on current events to explainers on the historical roots of anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Additionally, we shared resources on digital and media literacy, reiterated our policies around civic engagement and political activity, and offered office hours to staff who needed support processing these events. We have also leveraged Respect for All, our existing anti-hate initiative, Every principal is required to designate at least one staff member to serve as a Respect for All liaison, who is trained to promote a safe environment in their school. Families, students, or employees can report bullying, harassment, or discrimination to their liaison, administrators, or other school staff, and the schools must investigate and follow up immediately. Schools were required to review policies and procedures on bullying and harassment with both students and staff by October 31st. And finally, we've collaborated with expert partners, both internally and externally, to discuss resources, create materials, and provide support to our school. These partners include the New York City Council of Jewish Caucus, the New York City Commission on Human Rights, the Office for the Prevention of Hate Crimes, nonprofit organizations such as the ADL, and Facing History, and ourselves. I'm meeting with both Jewish and Muslim community leaders as well. These are challenging times for our country, our city, our communities, and our students and staff. But I deeply believe that our diversity is our greatest strength, and that we must leverage that strength to ensure that our schools are sanctuaries of learning and growth. So today I'm calling on all students and staff to recommit to this promise. I'm reminded of the words of Dr. King, who envisioned a world where disagreements were met with dialogue and debate, not chaos or violence. He once said that the function of education, therefore, is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. We must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of a true education. So I ask our staff to remember the words of Dr. King and to be inspired to use recent events as teachable moments. I ask our students to be reminded that Dr. King always encouraged peaceful protests and that he stood resolutely against hate. And I want to reassure you that the safety and well-being of our students and staff remains our top priority. We'll continue to take decisive action to maintain a safe and nurturing environment in all of our schools. So at this time, we have a couple of students that I'm going to introduce in just a moment. But before I do that, we want to hear from our borough president, who has spent the better chunk of the day here with me. He was in this library with the students who were here, a very powerful conversation that we had with our students. And then he also joined me for a full-on conversation with the over 200 staff members here at Hillcrest High School. It's been a real eye-opener for all of us. With that, Borough President.
Thank you, Chancellor. And let me start by saying that he's a graduate, and I'm a smart man because I married a woman who graduated from this high school too, so I'm doing all right. But let me just also add that there's a reason why what's happening outside these doors is impacting what's happening in the school community. And we often talk about the diversity in Queens, 190 countries, 360 languages and dialects spoken here. We are the world's borough for a reason. I just got, as I discussed with the students, I just got back from the Gaza war 2 weeks ago. I visited a kibbutz where people were impacted, and the overwhelming message, whether you were Jewish or Palestinian, while I was in Israel, was that we want peace for all sides. And that message somehow is being lost in our city. We're being pushed to choose, you choose this side or you choose this side. One of the most powerful moments today was hearing this young brother talk, Muhammad, president of the school government body, who said that this Jewish teacher must return and be safe in this environment. We could not simply allow this entire school body to be demonized. I went to school next door here at PS 86. This is a very diverse community, diverse opinions. But the bottom line is we have to be careful in the way we talk about our children as well. To speak about every child in the school as if they're anti-Semitic is simply wrong. And I would urge those who would say, come and close this building down, to show up to the school and talk to the very diverse set of students we spoke to, who had a diverse set of opinions as well. And the message we sent to these students is it's okay to protest. Nobody is against protest. That's part of the foundation of this country. It's why that flag hangs back there. It's why we're a democracy. But it's not what you say, it's how you do it and how you say it. So violence can never, ever be tolerated. And let me also add that there's not simply just one Jewish teacher in this building. There are more Jewish teachers in this building. There are Muslim teachers in this building. And we want to make sure that all of them feel safe within this body. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work cut out. I feel this on the front of my door every single day as the borough president. Every single day, this issue, this subject, this war comes up. But I know what Queens is representative of. I know who we are. I know who we are as a borough. We've done a lot of this work, and we can't allow this war to cripple the momentum that we had. We can't allow it to all of a sudden, for it to allow individuals to take their veil off of hate. So we have a lot of work to do. I call, and I will say once again to the students here, we love you, we see you. We want you to be able to express yourself freely, but do it in a peaceful manner. And I will end with that. I want to thank you, Chancellor. I was on the phone with the Chancellor about 11:30 last night. I'm like, who was calling me at 11:30? But I want you to know that we are committed, along with my colleagues, in making sure that Hillcrest, we're not going to allow these two issues to define who this school is, because it's wrong. I was here at Jamaica High causing trouble over here, just being honest. It's a much different school body than it was back in the 90s. So let's not get it twisted. Thank you all. Thank you. Look forward to the work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Borough President. I'm thrilled to be joined here today also, and just acknowledging and thank Assemblyman Weapon for being here with us, and to thank Henry Rubio, who is the president of CSA, our administrators, principals and assistant principals union, and he's been engaged with me in dialogue around this from the very, very beginning. Thank you for coming and spending the better part of the day here as well. I know you got a lot to do as well, but you saw fit to be here and being supportive. Not just the principal and the administrative team here, but this entire school community. And I thank you very much for that. And for my dear friend, Dominique Miller, former city councilman, but more importantly than that, just an integral member, particularly of the Queens community. He's been out here for a long time. He does not have to be here today. And yet he came here to participate in these conversations and to just stand in solidarity with us. And I can't thank you enough. Still call you councilman. And I appreciate you. And as well as our president, Scott Milcheski, who has to rise to this moment on behalf of his school community. And he has been integral to the turnaround of Hillcrest High School. Hillcrest has had a lot of challenges over the years. Well, we've seen great improvement over the last several years under his leadership. And we just want you to know that we are here to support you and the teachers and the staff and the faculty here. And we will meet this moment together as well. You're not out here by yourself. But certainly the highlight of the day for me was being in this room early today and hearing from these young people. And I just want to tell you, as I get ready to introduce them, the clarity of their voice, the passion, the emotion, the feelings are why I'm in this space in education in the first place. I left here so immensely proud of these young people. And I want to introduce two of the leaders here. And I will start with the president of the senior class. That's the senior class of student government. Of the senior class. Which, that's okay. Which I told him I was the vice president. But I'm thrilled. Mohammed, is it Ghazali? Ghazali. Thank you so much. Come on and please share a word. Thank you.
Mohammed, M-U-H-A-M-M. Ghazali, G-H-A-Z-A-L-I. Thank you everybody for coming out today. It's very deep. It's very heartbreaking for me to be here and to express my feelings here on what has happened on Monday, November 20th. a lot of these students, they didn't know what they were doing at the moment. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't even want to be a part of this. Not everybody in that brawl was a Muslim or was anti-Semitic. Not everybody was there to be a part of that protest or that riot. It didn't turn out the way it should have been. It was meant to be a peaceful protest from the very beginning. But some of these students lack maturity. These are teenagers that we're here with. We're in the same building. I am in the same building with some of these teenagers. They lack maturity, and they were making this into like a fun event, in a sense. They didn't really think of it as a serious moment or a moment to actually go out and protest. They really did it for their personal enjoyment, their personal pleasure. And that's what really caused the problem. School property was damaged. Certain individuals, they were mentally hurt, they were emotionally hurt because of this situation. School safety, students, staff, the whole entire Hillcrest community was hurt and broken because of this situation that occurred on November 20th. I just want to clarify that this country was built on freedom of the First Amendment gives us the right to have our own religion, the religion that we want to practice, freedom of gathering, and freedom of speech. These students have the right to go out there and protest. But it's just the way they protest was wrong. You don't ever stop anybody in the school community to put their opinion out. Or whether it's a student, it's a staff, anybody. Hillcrest is about communication. We are here to support each other. And for us to be called terrorists by certain news channels and by certain people, they go out there and they call us certain names because of what we did or because of the way things happened. It wasn't right. It wasn't right, and I disagree with whatever happened. I am not taking any sides on this, but I have come to consensus that it was not majority of the kids. Majority of the kids, it was only a handful of kids that started doing this. It's okay to do it, but it's just the way you do it, and you have to move on. We're here to move on. This is why we're here right now. We're here to move on with this, and we're here to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again.
And before we bring up our other student, who is amazing, I think it's important for me as I sought to figure out what was going on here. What triggered this? Because I was very taken with, how can something like this happen? I was here 3 weeks ago. We rededicated the gym in the name of Ken Gershon, who passed recently. He was the old basketball coach here for over 30 years, and baseball coach, and he was here when I was here, and just all of my memories of my entire relationship with this place has been nothing but good and wonderful, and I praise the principal for maintaining a culture that feels very much like when I was here. And then all of a sudden this happened. And I was trying to figure it out, and I'm watching people coming and condemning, but that's not my nature. My nature is to find out and to talk and to listen and to hear first. What happened? What caused this? And it's interesting how, and you may hear some of this from Khadija in terms of what triggered some of this from the students. So with that, Khadija, Ahmed, would you please come and share? Thank you.
Again, would you spell your name for us, please?
Khadiga, Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I would just like to thank you guys for coming. And I want to discuss what has happened within the past week. And I would just like to say I believe everyone is allowed to have their own values and beliefs, The event that took over last week was just a way of us to show how we feel about Palestine. We never meant for the message to get lost. We just wanted to be heard. I personally do not know everything that had happened between Palestine and Israel, but I am looking forward to learning more about this very important issue. I believe that the classrooms with the teachers should be a safe place where we can learn about this issue and have honest conversations. Okay, like, we had those protests because something happened in school with a teacher, and the only reason that everything led to the protest was because nobody really talked to a teacher or a dean or the principal. Everyone just really thought they could make it a bigger problem and start the protest, which led to people being in danger. The message that we really wanted to get out there was that we wanted Palestine to be free. But the message got lost, and lots of people were hurt mentally, like Muhammad said, and our teacher is in danger, and I do think that she should be able to come back. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. You know, it's a little nerve-wracking for young people to come up and stand in front of cameras and know that they're going to be on TV. So that's never easy. So I want to thank both of you for coming and sharing on behalf of your classmates. So let me, before we take questions, just emphasize a couple other things. What happened here? The teacher in the school, who is Jewish, had posted on her social media page, her profile. It wasn't a posting. She just changed the picture on her Facebook profile, holding a sign saying, "I stand with Israel." She had actually done this weeks before anything ever happened. And some students happened to see it, however they were directed to see it or whatever. They saw it, they started to spread it amongst each other. But even then I said, well, she posted it, you know, she's Jewish. She said, "I stand with Israel." What's the big deal? Why would that get kids so upset? What we've come to realize in having a conversation with the students is this. The young people today, they're not watching, with all due respect, New York 1 or NBC or ABC or CNN. That's not what they watch. They consume their information through social media, specifically TikTok and others. And what they are seeing on a daily basis are children and young people in Palestine, Palestinian families being blown up. That's what they're seeing. That's what they're consuming. You have to remember the demographics of this school in particular. Over 30% of the students here are of Muslim faith. They feel a kindred spirit with the folks of the Palestinian community. And because this is a very visceral and emotional issue for them, and that is what they are seeing, those images every single day, when they all of a sudden saw this image of the teacher that says, "I stand with Israel," the students articulated to me, they took that as a message that I am affirming whatever is happening to the Palestinian family and community. That made sense to me. Prior to my arriving here, I could not understand why kids would get so upset. But they were equating the two. So there's a lot of work that we have to do here. I've spoken earlier also with our teacher, Ms. Martyr, Karen Martyr, who she knows she has the full support of this chancellor, this mayor, and this administration. And we're not going to in any way allow her to feel bullied out of her school. And so we have taken disciplinary action against some of the students who kind of started this. But the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of kids who were in the hallway during the passing period, you have to remember what a place like this feels like. There's 2,500 students that go to this school. When the bell rings and everybody's in the hallway, it can seem like mass chaos, just on a good day. And so many of the students who were running and jumping had no idea what was even going on. They were doing what 14 and 15-year-olds do, jumping in and yelling and screaming. And when they were asked by the principal and the members of the administration, why were you participating? They said, I don't even know. I was just out there. Everybody else was out there running around, so I was out there running around too. This notion that this place is these kids are radicalized and anti-Semitic is the height of irresponsibility. The height of irresponsibility. And I, for one, will not accept that at all. In fact, the greatest concern that the students had here today, as well as the staff, was that there's a protest plan of people who are coming here on Thursday. And staff fearing for their safety, as well as students. Very concerned with people just making statements who they said have never even been here. They don't even know us. But somehow or another, we have become the symbol of hate. Look at these kids. This is the ultimate teachable moment. That's why I'm here today. Not to cast aspersions or to cast judgment on our children, but to make sure that we as a school community live up to what we need to live up to. Every teacher, Ms. Marta or anyone else, needs to be affirmed in their humanity, their religion, or their own personhood. And I will make sure that that happens as the chancellor. And I'm fully supported by the mayor in making sure that that happens. And it causes me some angst when I see the media or certain members of the media who seemingly will pour gasoline on a situation. I say, do you really give a damn about these kids? Do you care deeply enough about our schools, our families, our communities, that you make these judgments before you even ask the question, and then have everybody else responding to that? I came here today to listen, and what I heard was very powerful from these young people, as well as the teachers and the staff. There's a lot that is going on here, but I would suggest that it is not unlike what is happening in schools all across our city and across this nation. This is a very emotional issue. People are scared to express their opinions. They're also scared about how to share content in schools in spite of the guidelines that we have provided. People are treading very lightly because nobody wants to say anything that will be deemed anti-Semitic or promoting at some level of Islamophobia. So sometimes when you're afraid, you don't say anything at all, and you don't even address it. But what the kids are saying to us is today, we need you to address it. We need you to create a forum for us to have responsible conversation. Otherwise, we're all just moving and just doing school, as though these things that are happening around them don't even matter. So we respect that. We want to make sure that kids' voices are heard, but under no circumstance should a teacher ever feel targeted for whatever their belief is. I don't care what it is. They should never feel targeted. And we will make sure that we support the teacher in that. We will provide a level of safety supports for as long as it takes for the teacher to feel supported and safe in this building. But there are many teachers who have been here for many, many years. And I have great confidence that the students and staff will all wrap arms around that teacher, Ms. Marta, and also make sure that we begin the healing process for the school. You can only do that through communication and everybody working together. And I feel very confident under the leadership of our principal, Scott Milcheski, that is what we're going to do. We're ready to take any questions at this point. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I want to know to Queensboro President Dr. Richards, are you planning on endorsing the rally on Thursday? And are you planning on attending yourself?
I don't know anything about that. Right?
On Thursday. Oh, Thursday.
Right. Yeah. Yes, if you could say your outlet, please.
Yeah, thanks for being here, West Financial New York Times. Last week on Tuesday, an 18-year-old senior, I believe, was arrested from the school. I believe the charges were something related to targeting the school for a shooting. Was that related to this incident on Monday of last week?
Scott, you want to speak to that at all?
It was completely unrelated. Completely unrelated.
Yes, Andrew?
I'm just curious about you, Andrew Siff, WNBC. I'm curious about you sort of straddling the line here. In saying that it's important to listen to the students and to give them a forum to voice their views, you're not dismissing that the teacher felt legitimate fear that day.
Not at all. No. The teacher was concerned before that day because the teacher had saw people posting things on social media about her having a sign saying, "I stand with Israel." So the teacher was aware prior to what happened on that day that something was buzzing about her. So there was already a concern. But what is also false was what was printed, that the teacher was somehow barricaded in her room with like marauding students coming after her and she was fearing for her life. This incident was taking place somewhere on the second or third floor in the school. The teacher was downstairs in the assistant principal's office, wasn't even aware when all of these things were even happening. So there was no teacher barricaded in a room.
It wasn't correct that the administration moved her to a different floor to keep her out of the way of the students?
Yeah, and you want to speak to that also?
We had reported this right away, of course, and some police had come in and wanted to speak with her, so she went downstairs to speak with them prior to this incident. While that was happening downstairs is when the third floor occurred.
Got it. So was there a conscious attempt to keep her separated or protected from the protest that was taking place?
Well, she was downstairs at the time, so yeah, she was already downstairs.
You touched on this yourself. You said that this is a problem that's indicative of things that are going on in schools all around the city as people and students grapple with trying to understand the events that are taking place in the Middle East. My question to you is, you call this a teachable moment for this school. What's the teachable moment for the entire city school system about the proper way to discuss what's going on in the Middle East, to understand what's going on in the Middle East, and not to evidence either anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or any other kind of hatred?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Marsha. I'm going to be convening all the principals across New York City before the end of the week in a Zoom session so that they can hear clearly from me. We've sent out a number of guidelines, but those are things that are in writing. But I need all of them to hear very clearly from me around how we need to begin to engage in this process. There are no easy answers for it, and there's no one set way to approach it. So, for instance, here in this school, they have something that's called advisory. Not every school has that. But it's a period of time. It's not your regular English or math class. It's just a designated time to have conversations about a wide range of things. And the kids here suggested that the advisory sessions be used to talk about these issues right now. There are many schools across the city that, in fact, have those same advisory times. Some schools have other things that they call it, Henry, right? And so we're going to look to work with the schools. There's no one size that fits all, but the goal is to encourage the schools to have responsible conversation, not to run away from the issue, not to hide from it, because the kids are being consumed with information every day anyway, whether you like it or not. So you can't put your head in the sand and act like it's not happening.
You're going to talk to a Zoom with all the principals of all your schools?
Yes, across the entire city.
Including like elementary schools, middle schools, high schools?
All of it, absolutely, yep. And so the goal is...
And your message is going to be what?
My message is to say that we are dealing in some perilous times right now, and we have to accept that what is a reality for kids and what they are seeing and their parents and the communities are seeing is real. We need to unpack some of this in responsible ways, and we will point them in the direction of the resources and supports that we have, which will give them what they need to have these responsible conversations. But responsible conversations we must have. We cannot avoid it as though it's just somehow going to go away. That's not responsible. That's not what a good education is all about.
1010 wins and WCPS 880 Camp Rosenberg. So to this point, there's no discipline that is public. There's no arrests related to this incident that you can be public about.
Mark, you want to come and speak to that?
No, we do not share out student discipline. As you know, our young people have a right to privacy, but just rest assured that every single incident is being taken seriously and being dealt with at the utmost level. Right? As it relates to the arrest, no public information regarding.
Well, let me say this, right? Because sometimes that's a bureaucratic answer that people don't like, right? There was disciplinary action that was taken. We don't share the names of students, but I don't want to give you an answer where you walk away and say, I don't even know what that means, okay? Students who were responsible for creating this, we have invoked a set of disciplinary measures in that regard. Not going to tell you how many students or who they are, but it was responded to. We did not suspend hundreds of students who were in the hallway. There's some who have called on us to just suspend 500 kids. We're not going to do that. I want to be very clear about that. But we have taken disciplinary action against some
You
students.
have suspended some people?
Yes, we have.
Hey, Chancellor. Hey. So, two questions. So first, you mentioned that you're doing some kind of partnership with some external organization on alignment here. Can you just elaborate on what that is? And then second, on the point about having these tough conversations in schools, I have spoken to some educators who have felt like your reminder about the rules on political speech and about not sharing your views in the classroom and about, activity outside of school expressing political views has been interpreted by some as kind of, being cautious, and that has contributed to some of the fear about doing this stuff in school. So I know you said that was not your intention, but is it possible it's having that effect, and is there anything you can do to help?
It is possible that it is having that effect, and I think that's probably what I mean when I say this thing is fraught with all kinds of issue and challenge here. Most schools, teachers, and school leaders, the last thing they want to do is get involved in politics. They're afraid of it. Nobody wants to be accused of doing the wrong thing. And something like this is it's a very tense situation. And that's why you will find educators very often saying, I'm staying away from that. Because I may express my opinion or just even engage kids in conversation, and all of a sudden I'm being accused of something. So I understand where that mindset comes from, but that's why I have to do the best I can. But we do have to balance this. Because there's a difference between having conversation, listening, letting kids express what they think, trying to make sure that they understand the facts, and being a teacher who says, let me tell you why one side is right and one side is wrong. You see, so it is somewhat of a challenge, but to me it is the essence of what a good education is about. Because a good education helps to foster critical thinking. Most of the issues that we deal with out here are not black and white. They're in the gray. And you've got to figure out how to show up in the gray responsibly. And sometimes we get it wrong as adults. One of the biggest challenges here is not about this, here at Hillcrest, broadly. It's not the students. It's many of our adults who are more deeply opinionated about these things than the kids are. And sometimes they're wrong and strong. And yet they're the ones that are in front of the kids in the class. So we got a lot of things that we have to balance. This issue in the Middle East has been going on seemingly my entire life. And so we're not going to solve it here right now. The kids at Hillcrest are not going to solve it. But we want them at least to be aware of what's happening and to know how they need to show up. But ultimately, we need to help them understand that they have to be not tolerant, accepting of people. I don't even like the word tolerance. Who are we to tolerate somebody? Who do you think you are? But to learn that everybody has a wide range of views. The borough president says all the time, this borough of Queens is the most diverse in the city. But it's one thing to be diverse. It's another thing to be accepting. Because you can have a wide range of people who live in a place, but it doesn't mean that they understand each other or that they work together. That mindset has to happen in our schools. And that's what we want to try to continue to foster, that mindset.
Last two questions here, and then Jill.
Kevin Sheehan, New York. Chancellor, from the meetings you're having this afternoon, you heard a lot of security concerns from teachers. But did you hear any security concerns from teachers that were kind of building a picture for you, of saying security concerns from multiple teachers? Did you hear anything like that? Like a consensus?
No overall consensus. There were a couple of things that the teachers raised about safety. But one of which was the folks who are apparently, there's some planned protest here for Thursday, and teachers feeling very concerned about who these people are that are coming here. And there's a sense that many of them have that their own safety might be in danger or in question. And I assured them in the strongest ways that I know how that the last thing that they need to be concerned about is their safety. we will work together with the mayor, NYPD, school safety, to ensure the safety of everybody who comes to this school, not only on Thursday, but every day. But certainly as relates to whatever's being planned for Thursday, we want our teachers and our staff to know that they are safe. I'm still getting more intel on who these folks are, but whoever they are not folks who reached out to have a meeting with me and have a conversation about what's going on. They're people who make their own determinations, and then they say, this is what we're going to come out and do. I don't operate like that. I engage people in dialogue. And any of those folks who want to do that could just as easily have a meeting with me, but oftentimes they choose not to do that. They have their own political purposes, so they want to show out. Bill?
Chancellor, I wanted to ask you if you could tell us a little bit about what kind of de-escalation conversations were maybe had with students today and whether that's across the entire student body. I ask in part because I was outside during dismissal and interviewing some students, and kids will always yell and do crazy stuff to get on camera. That's part of my job. But there were lots of students who echoed sort of the sentiments of the students here. But there was also at least one student who was yelling "Go Hamas." There were some more inflammatory calls that I suspect you may not find appropriate. What kind of conversations were had today to sort of cool down a little bit of that tension?
Yeah. So we met with a group of student leaders, a cross section of kids from the 9th through the 12th grade. Again, there are 2,500 students here. So I certainly didn't meet with 2,500 students, but I met with a representative group that helped to give us some insight in terms of how the students are feeling. You just heard from two of them. We are going to work closely with the school leadership here to continue those conversations that will help the students to feel heard. But there's a lot of work that has to be done. So the issue was not fully resolved today. So we just pledged to stand shoulder to shoulder with the school to help to support them. At the end of the day, it's the school principal, it is the school faculty here who are here every single day and in the classes with our young people, and we're going to leave it to them to find out the best way forward. That was my message to the staff. This is a moment of challenge, but I believe that the folks of this school will meet this moment. In fact, we need them to do that. If they can't come together to figure it out, then we got real trouble. But I believe that they will, and we will be here backing them up to help provide any levels of additional support that they need. My final word on this, Joe, is this. This is a really good school with wonderful young people. And I'm so taken aback by this notion of that kids are terrorists or radicalized. I mean, even that kind of language, right? It's just terrible. It's terrible and it's irresponsible. And then some of the kids who came over to me to say, they're watching themselves in their school, a good name being besmirched on TV, and they said they don't even know us. But that is also part of your reality that you're going to have to deal with. There are a lot of folks who will cast judgment. There are a lot of periodicals and media outlets that will also cast judgment. They have no idea who you are. It almost doesn't matter. These are just things that people do. That will be part of your growing up experience as well. You realize how you have to manage even in those times. And that is also part of our messaging to folks. Last word I would say is this. We're expecting our teacher back this week. And we will ensure her safety and not just by armed guards. That's not what we expect will be happening here. The students themselves, the faculty here will wrap arms around and ensure the safety of everybody who works here or students who go to school here. We will ensure that. So with that, is that the last one?
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming out, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.